Cool. So hi.
Hello.
It's nice to meet you in video.
Yes, something like that.
We've talked on Twitter a little bit,
Hmm.
um, and now we're doing a thing.
Yes.
So, what is it? We've each got, like, stories that we're gonna converse with each other about. Is that right, would you say?
Um, I mean, stories is a strong word. I have one more extended story, I guess, but yes.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, like, stories as in you have a story, I have a story.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. You're right.
Um, Yeah, so that's what you, the viewer, have to look forward to. We're so good at videos. I'm so good at this. All right, so here's what I've got for you. I'm
Okay.
just going to preface this by saying that this is going to sound like a joke and just completely ridiculous, but it's real, and
Okay.
it's a conspiracy of kinds that's existed for decades.
All right.
I'm excited to get into this.
Okay.
So I presume that you have heard of the popular video game series Sonic the Hedgehog.
I sure have, yes.
Excellent. What if I told you that in Sonic the Hedgehog 3, which I have here on cartridge, I'll hold that up for the webcam. What if I told you that this game's music was composed by one Michael Jackson?
Okay. I'm intrigued.
This is good news. So this has been a weird forum conspiracy for a really long time,
Hmm.
and as of late, more details have actually leaked out. So the way that this started is that people just kind of thought, they played through Sonic 3 and they were like, some of this music kind of sounds like Michael Jackson tracks, and that's like no basis for any kind of report that maybe Michael Jackson made music for a game.
Hmm.
But people were just like, some of these tracks sound like Michael Jackson music. And I've got some links here that I'm going to pop into the Skype chat for you. So this is Carnival Night Zone. You can go ahead and give that a listen. And in particular, skip ahead to 1 minute in the video.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Now, I'm going to send you a link to Michael Jackson's song Jam. Go ahead and skip ahead to 3 minutes in that track. See if you notice anything from the previous track you listened to.
Oh.
You hear it, right?
I do hear it.
There's definitely something to that.
Yes, okay.
So that's probably my favorite comparison. There's a few
Hmm.
others. People think that the ending credits sound like Stranger in Moscow. They think that Ice Cap Zone sounds like Smooth Criminal.
Hmm.
Those I don't hear as much, but this is my favorite comparison because it's the one that I can absolutely definitely pick out, that kind of
Oh,
sting.
yeah.
So that's all that we had to go on for a while, was just people thought that this sounded like Michael Jackson music.
Hmm.
But eventually, here's where I'll start. Apparently, Michael Jackson was actually a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog. And there's some stories that came out of people who worked with him who would be like, yeah, in the recording studio, he, like, in between takes, he'd be playing Sonic the Hedgehog, and he really loved that game. And at one point, and this is confirmed as well, Michael Jackson actually wrote to Sega just to kind of say, like, hey, I really admire this series and I love the game. And at that point, it was the early 90s. It was Michael Jackson, so of course Sega invited him to tour their offices. And there's something to that as well. I'm going to drop an image in the chat now.
Okay.
We have this as proof, which is a photo of Michael Jackson posing with a man dressed as Sonic the Hedgehog. That's apparently from the day that he visited the Sega offices.
Hmm.
Around this time, Sega had also just published a game for Michael Jackson called Michael Jackson's Moonwalker. So Sega and him had worked together before.
Hmm.
And just a quick sidebar, I went and looked at Moonwalker before doing this, And it's an incredible game. It features Michael Jackson as the main character, dancing his way through 2D side-scrolling levels, kicking and throwing glitter at bad guys so hard that they fly into space. There are these little kids peppered throughout the levels who go, Michael! And presumably he's rescuing them, and they like get on his shoulders at one point. It's kind of weird. But there's this one point in the level where he's having this big fight with a ton of bad guys, and everybody stops and does this big choreographed number with Michael Jackson. Like, even the bad guys are dancing with him. And Michael Jackson dances so good that all of the bad guy dancers just die. They just die.
Amazing.
So that's a story for
That's
another time. That's something
hilarious.
to be checked out on its own. I love it, and I really want to play that game now. So Michael Jackson's visiting Sega, and purportedly, here's where the story gets interesting, they give him a demo of Sonic 3, which they're working on at the time, and they invite him to create the score for Sonic 3.
Ah. Okay.
This is where things get interesting, because Sega still denies that this happened.
Okay.
Apparently it did. Sega will tell you it didn't. But 3 of the 6 composers who are credited on in the end credits of Sonic 3, who do we have? We have Doug Grigsby, Sirocco Jones, and Brad Buxer have since confirmed this. There was this big piece on Huffington Post, and I'm pulling some of this from Billboard as well. We've got quotes from them. Brad Buxer worked on the Dangerous album with Michael Jackson, and he talked to Huffington Post. We have a quote. I was working with Michael on the Dangerous album, and he told me he was going to be doing the Sonic the Hedgehog soundtrack for Sonic 3. He asked me if I would help him with it. So, why this controversy? And why won't Sega confirm that this happened? We have people who worked on the game saying that it did happen. So there's all this speculation
So weird.
about why. Right? It's crazy. So there's a number of different reasons. Some I think were alluded to when we were talking about Moonwalker. It was around this time that Jackson was hit with child molestation allegations.
Right.
And some people think that it was for this reason that Sega didn't want to be associated with him anymore and ordered that, he just be scrubbed from the game and his name taken off the credits.
I can understand that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
The man who confirmed Michael Jackson's visit to Sega, Roger Hector, is quoted as saying he indicated that it was in fact the scandal that led to the dissolution of their working together. He said,
Gotcha.
We had to replace it all. This is what he said. We had to replace it all. So the big picture that we're talking about here isn't exactly did Jackson work with Sega, because we have confirmation from so many people. But going back to the tracks we heard, is there Michael Jackson music in a Sonic the Hedgehog game? That's the big crazy thing here.
Gotcha. Okay.
This man says no. He says we had to scrub it all because we didn't want to be involved in Jackson's image anymore.
Right.
However, others have a different story. They think that Jackson came back with his music for the game, and that he was dissatisfied with how it sounded when it was mixed down to fit on a 16-bit cartridge. As is understandable. He's a musician. He's used to big sound quality, and you can only get so much out of these tiny cartridges to fit on.
For sure.
It was Buxer who said, quote, Michael wanted his name taken off the credits if they couldn't get it to sound better. That's what he says. He says he wanted his name off the credits, not that he wanted his music pulled from the game or that his music isn't in the game. He said he wanted his name taken off the credits.
Interesting.
There is yet another story.
Oh my goodness. Oh boy.
There's a third source, who did I mention before? This is the person that Sega hired to replace Jackson's music, Howard Drawson. And he came in before the game was finished to change the music. He told Huffington Post that he didn't rewrite the entire score, and that, quote, it did get in the game. The stuff we handed in, the stuff we did, made it to the game. his periods, his emphasis. So according to one source, there is Michael Jackson music in a Sonic the Hedgehog game. According to another source, it was completely replaced. According to another, maybe not, but his name is not on these credits.
Interesting.
My opinion, at the end of this, is that there is Michael Jackson music in a Sonic the Hedgehog game.
Mm-hmm.
And my reasoning is not entirely because of all the sources that we have that say so, but just because it's fun to believe that there's Michael Jackson music in a Sonic the Hedgehog game. And this is like the most harmless conspiracy to possibly believe in.
Yeah.
And I think it's really interesting that, like, Michael Jackson, or the estate of Michael Jackson, never said anything about this, or never went after Sega, like, that's our music, we want our money for it, or you can't release this game. And
That's
that
true.
Sega never said, like, Michael Jackson music in a Sonic game, buy this.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my story.
Interesting.
That's the conspiracy that I present you with today.
That's awesome. I feel enlightened.
What do you think after hearing those? The one track that I shared with you.
I think I'm kind of with you. I want to believe. It's so much more interesting that way. And I mean, obviously he worked with them in some capacity, but
Right.
no, I like it. I want it to be true.
Yes, I want to believe. Cue X-Files intro with
Yes.
Sonic the Hedgehog wearing Michael Jackson glove.
I kind of also, like, I want all of the accounts to have, like, some merit to them. Like, maybe Sega was like, oh, we don't want to, like, put his name on there, but then Michael Jackson was also like, oh, well, I don't want that, and kind of maybe all of them have some kernel of truth in them.
Yeah, like, there's a case to be made that, if Michael Jackson was actually a huge fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, as he's purported to be in these stories, that you could make the case that he would be, like, too excited that his music was in a Sonic the Hedgehog game to have pulled it, or to have, like, lawyered up against Sega.
Yeah.
So that's what I've got. Michael Jackson and Sonic the Hedgehog?
That is
You
a connection
decide.
I never would have made.
Thanks, everybody, for watching. The person I've been chatting with today is Christy, who you can go and check out over at youtube.com/Turlin. There will be a link around here somewhere, or at least in the description. We chatted over on her channel about history and conspiracies, and whether the truth does matter in the long run. Small things like that. Thanks, everybody, and I'll see you next time.